Well, it looks like 2022 is going to be the year of Xbox. Now, before we talk about everything coming to the platform this year, please, if you're new to the channel, subscribe and share. It really helps the channel out. So Xbox has came a long way, and moving into the second year of Xbox Series X and S for games, hardware features and services, it's going to get really interesting. But before we look at the future, we have to look at the past. You see, in 2020, Xbox Game Pass grew significantly as a service. They added EA Play to the lineup, so if you were subscribed to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you had this whole other chunk of games added to your library at no additional charge. And when it comes to value, there's nothing like it in the gaming industry. There really isn't. So why am I talking about this? Well, EA Play was its own thing before Game Pass. Now let's move towards 2022. Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox. This is Ubisoft's premium subscription service where you have access to over 100 titles, DLC, classics, and new games day one out of the gate, which is a pretty big deal. Ubisoft launch many big games every year. Now, you're going to have access to a lot of content out of the gate, but you also have to remember, Xbox has backwards compatibility. So you're going to be able to play games going multiple generations. 4 generations of Ubisoft games in one service. Now, this will also include things like Splinter Cell and the original Xbox. Also going towards the next remake for Splinter Cell, which is going to launch in the future. So we will be seeing more details on Ubisoft Plus in the coming weeks and months, which is really exciting. But the other cool piece of news when it comes to Xbox and Ubisoft is that Ubisoft's next big title, Rainbow Six Extraction, is coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. And it seems like the good decision to launch these co-op style games in Game Pass, and it's proven to be popular. These games launch in Xbox Game Pass and they actually show up in the top paid section, which is really impressive. Now, Elder Scrolls Online is part of Xbox Game Studios, and the thing is, there's going to be a huge expansion this year. They've been teasing this for weeks now, and we will be finding more out later in January, but it's set to be a long event throughout 2022. Now, Elder Scrolls Online is included in Xbox Game Pass, and it's one of the biggest MMOs on the planet, so there's a lot of content there to dive into, and it's probably the best time to dive into it, especially since the next gen updates are already out. There's a lot of big games launching in Xbox Game Pass day one this year, such as Shredders, a brand new action-based snowboarding game which looks really good. This is launching in February on Xbox Series X and S, and it looks like a lot of fun. But we also have more co-op games coming to Xbox Series X and S via Game Pass, and that being Warhammer 40k Darktide. This is made by the Vermintide developers, and it's another co-op game I think people are going to love. Next up we have Atomic Heart, which is set to release this year, launching day one in Xbox Game Pass, an alternate Soviet Union era game, and it looks really cool. If you like Bioshock, keep your eyes on this one. Next up we have Replaced. This is a 2.5D Castlevania-like game that's visually inspired by things like Upgrade, Aliens, and Blade Runner, and it looks really cool. Really cool. People need to keep their eyes on this game. Next up we have Stalker 2. Now, Stalker 2 has been in the news for a while lately, but the game got pushed back to late December, and frankly, the game looks fantastic. It really does. This is an Unreal Engine 5 game, and it's going to be one of the first big budget FPS titles using that engine on Xbox Series X and S. Another game coming to Xbox Game Pass day one in February is the brand new JRPG style game Edge of Eternity. Now, if you've been wanting more JRPGs on Xbox, keep your eyes close to this game because it looks really cool. It blends fantasy and sci-fi, and it just has a really cool look. Next up, we have Sniper Elite 5. This looks like it could be the best in the series when it comes to action and stealth, coming to Xbox Game Pass Day 1 this year. Also, A Plague Tale Requiem, which is Xbox Series X and S, coming to Game Pass Day 1 this year. The first game was amazing, and this game looks like it's going to be even better, which is fantastic. And I think fans of action-adventure games are really going to want to play this. And next up we have Hitman the Trilogy, coming to Xbox Game Pass January 20th. This is going to include all 3 games, and what a package of games this is. That's a ridiculous amount of content dropping all on one day. It really is. And that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Day 1 Xbox Game Pass titles for 2022. It also looks like Rare's 007 GoldenEye remake will launch Day 1 in Xbox Game Pass whenever it's announced. Now, Microsoft has been transparent about the whole cross-gen situation since the announcement of Xbox Series X in 2019. So we've known for a while Microsoft's plans going forward because they were actually transparent. Now, Xbox One, Xbox One S and One X have all been discontinued. No more in production. Microsoft's focus going forward is Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PC, and of course, xCloud. Many xCloud servers are moving to Xbox Series hardware, which in the long run, it's going to benefit more people. But the thing is, let's talk about the games. With Microsoft concentrating on Xbox Series X and S, the games are important. But Microsoft's lineup is filled with variety, and the variety is looking really good. The direction Xbox is heading in is going to benefit everyone. This is the best outcome for Xbox. It really is. They have developers around the world concentrating on Xbox Series hardware. Cross-generation games look like they are done. But when we talk about the games, there are games on PC people also want on console. Age of Empires 4 is apparently in development for Xbox Series consoles. Now, there are RTS fans on console that have been wanting this. I personally want to play this on my TV via an Xbox. And there's a fan base out there, much like there was for Flight Simulator on console. It looks like this will be coming to Xbox at some point later this year. Next up we have the critically acclaimed FPS by Arcane Studios, Deathloop. Now this launched on PlayStation consoles in 2021 and the exclusivity period was 1 year. So some point later this year it will launch on Xbox Series X and S, and given the fact it's an Xbox game studio, it will be launching in Xbox Game Pass. And frankly, that's just good news. Next up we have Redfall. Redfall is set to release in summer. Now, Bethesda games tend to get gameplay just a few months before release, so I believe we will actually see gameplay for Redfall in the next few months. And frankly, it looks like a really interesting game. This is another Arcane title with vampires. I can't wait for it. Next up, we have Starfield. This is one of the biggest games of the year, and arguably the most anticipated game of 2022. This is the third pillar RPG for Bethesda, and it's a whole other pillar of gaming when it comes to Xbox Game Studios. When it comes to big pillar RPGs by Bethesda, they only start to show gameplay off about 5 months before release. So Skyrim, they showed gameplay at E3 and then launched it in November. They did the same with Fallout 4, and they're going to do the same with Starfield. Starfield is launching November 2022 on Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PC, xCloud devices, and in Xbox Game Pass Day 1. So it's going to be a huge day for those platforms, and frankly, I can't wait for it, especially as a sci-fi fan. It looks so good. Now when it comes to Xbox in 2022, Microsoft is currently working with developers all the way around the world, big and small, to get games to come to Game Pass day one. There are games coming to Game Pass day one later this year that haven't been announced yet. Small games, big games, and some games that might even surprise you. Now when it comes to Xbox first party, they have a lot of games in development. Forza Motorsport is on track to release later this year. It's a different pillar from Forza Horizon, both can exist at the same time like they have in the past, and I believe that Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport can coincide with each other once again. Next up we have Compulsion's next game. It's set to be a third-person action game, and I believe that we will not only see it this year, but it could possibly release. It's been in the oven for a long time, we haven't heard much, and I think that's Microsoft's plan going forward. Don't show us too much too early like they have done in the past. Next up, we have Obsidian. Obsidian are working on like 4 different games at the minute, one of which being Avowed. And I believe not only will we see more of it this year, but we will see gameplay and possibly even a release date. And there's a lot of hype for Avowed because this is the first RPG of its kind since Skyrim in 2011. Now Microsoft's going to push forward with events this year, such as going digital with E3, and we should be seeing more of games like Fable. Now, the Fable thing is complete speculation on my part because this has been in development for like 4 years already. And with E3 being big once again in digital form, we should be seeing a lot. Microsoft have a lot of unannounced games, a lot of which will probably be shown this year. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit like, share and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications, you'll be notified for my next video. All Things Xbox Podcast returns very soon. Follow me on Twitter, the link will be in the description down below. I have a lot of cool things planned throughout the year. In January, I still have a lot of other videos planned to come out in the next few weeks, including my top 10 games of 2021. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good day. I'm out. Peace.